Welcome to Single Moms Unfolded. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Kelly Viera. This is a podcast for single moms created by a single mom to help single moms. This is our safe space to love, to connect, and grow together. Welcome to Single Moms Unfolded. Today we are lucky enough to have Jenifer Ayala. Welcome, Jenifer. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for letting me be here today. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
So let's get right in. Jenifer, tell me, what is your definition of a single mom?
Oh gosh. For me, a single mom is somebody who is the sole provider of their child or their children, somebody who is just taking on that full responsibility on their own. And, it doesn't have to be somebody that was married or somebody, because single moms can come from all sorts of different stories, right? Some of them can be where their partner has, been deceased, or, the marriage broke, or, so it's definitely a mom that's just taking on everything on her own.
Right, just a full-time mom. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you think there's any misconceptions about single moms?
Yes, there definitely is. Some that I have seen and felt things that I've actually experienced. Most of the times they always seem to think that a single mom is somebody who's really, really struggling, financially and mentally. And, sometimes in the dating world, a single mom's really easy, but she's also very difficult to date because she's too busy. So there's so many things.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that is a big misconception, and I see it a lot. There's a lot of single moms like, I just don't have time. I can't possibly date. I don't have time for me. I'm gonna have time for somebody else, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes it just falls into place. So tell me a little bit about you. You're a single mom success coach.
Yes.
And you're a single mom yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Sure. So I was a really young mom. I had my daughter when I was about 18 years old. So I struggled with a lot of, my self-esteem, only because I didn't feel like I fit either with the groups of older moms, or because there was nobody my age that was a mom. So I didn't know who to fit in with. Like, my friends had a hard time connecting to me because I was a mom. Right. And then the older ladies were kind of like, but you're still a baby yourself. So it was hard for me to kind of figure out where I fit, in other words. But of course, being so young, both the father and I had a really hard time adjusting to that parenthood life, right? And now, yeah, exactly.
Because you're kids, yeah?
Yeah. And now having to add being so young, we're still learning about each other. We didn't know, like, am I going to university? Will I go to college? So we weren't sure where we were at. So it was only natural, I believe, for things to kind of just crumble. But it was also a hard time for me because the relationship that I was in was something that I just assumed was normal. But now being, a single mom coach and learning so many things, I realized that who I was dealing with was, a narcissist, and they had so many other flags that I just kind of assumed was something normal. So, this is something that I love to teach women. And this is the reason why I am a single mom coach, not only because of that, but also because I know the struggle of both sides, being the child and being the parent. Growing up, my parents were both also separated. So I was a child.
So so you knew, okay. So at what moment did you know that you were going to be a single mom?
That's a good question. As soon as she was born.
Oh, you were like, okay, this is my responsibility, huh?
Yeah. As soon as she was born, I knew I was going to be on my own. It's a little sad to say, but
No,
I
hey,
did.
it is what it is, right? It is what
Exactly.
it is. So, what was your first reaction?
Um, um, After being a single mom.
Yeah, when you first figured out, okay, this is good. Well, you probably had 8 months to think about this. If you kind of knew that your relationship wasn't working with your boyfriend or with your, with the dad, you probably okay. You probably thought about it a lot before time because it's scary, right?
I did, it was scary, but at the same time, because I knew, my mom was somebody who I look up to, and I saw all that she went through. So the way I saw it was this: if she did it, there's no way I'm not going to be able to do it on my own. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
So I was ready, but I was scared at the same time because obviously the stories are different. She had one story, my story is different than hers and other moms. So I just wasn't sure what type of challenges I was going to have. But I knew that, okay, I can do it. At least I had that.
Right. You saw your mom, so you had a role model. You had a single
Exactly.
mom role model that could be like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't easy, but yeah, that's such a good attitude. That
Yeah.
is great. That is really good. So, what do you think, like, your biggest struggle was?
My biggest struggle was, I think, accepting that was going to happen for me, because I came from, like I'm saying, that background of parents being separated. I didn't want that type of life for my future children. I always said, no, I'm going to be married, I'm going to have I'm going to have a happy marriage and my kids. So when I came to that realization that, oh no, this is going to be me too, the story is repeating itself, it was
Mm,
hard for me to accept that. But
right.
even though I knew, I saw from the very beginning, signs and everything, it was just coming to that realization that, okay, or that acceptance more. That was hard. That was really hard.
Yeah, yeah, accepting, okay, I'm gonna have to do this. And I didn't want to, like
Yes.
your fear, but having to face it. But okay, so like tell us like some of the stuff you had to learn along the way.
Um, well, I had to grow up really quickly because I was only 18 and I had my daughter.
Right.
But one of the things that I learned was everything that I saw as a child with my parents and how they handled single parenthood and the co-parenting. I took that example and I said, okay, how am I going to make it better for my child? Because I knew right away the effects that it has on children, which is sometimes I feel like single parents, we forget. We forget that, oh, we are struggling with our own emotions, whatever's going on with us, but the kids feel it too. And they also have their own feelings. So I said to myself, whatever my parents did, I'm going to do the opposite.
Right, right. So
So
we're not like our parents, right?
yes. Opposite only because my mindset was, she is her own person. My daughter will eventually grow up and she will have her point of view of both parents. And I didn't want to be the responsible one to tell her how to feel about her dad,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Right.
So, I always tried to make it very open relationship with her because we grew up together, basically, me and her, she's my
That's
best friend.
true. That's true. Yeah, you were figuring it all out together. You're a team. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I just made sure that any time that it came to the other parent, no matter what it was, how it ended, if it ended in a bad way or a good way, I said to myself, I have to make sure that she knows that she's loved from both of us, and, that she's part of both of us. She's really half
Right.
of me and half of him.
Right, right, yeah. It's not, yeah, it's just mine. It's so. How's your co-parenting relationship now?
Unfortunately, it wasn't good. It hasn't been easy. Um,
Right.
there was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of inconsistencies, which are things that she eventually learned on her own.
Mm-hmm.
We after going to court and me gaining full custody, there was what is it called? Like, the agreement was that he would see her twice a week, and that never happened since then. And
Okay.
as children, you see the inconsistency of somebody and just kind of like, well, I mean, in my case, my daughter was just kind of like, what's the point if it's not
Yeah.
gonna be the way it should be, right? Where I'm
Yeah.
gonna go maybe today and then 3 months later I won't see him again. And so, you know, it was a lot of that. And it's sad because my only hope was from the very beginning, and I said this to him and I said it in court and I will continue saying it, was that they built a relationship, because
Yeah.
that was something that I wish I had as a kid. I
Right.
didn't really have that with my dad. So I said, I don't really care. We don't have to get along. We can pretend in front of her.
Right.
But I was like, please just make sure that the relationship there continues to grow, because kids want time. That's
Right.
what they want, right?
Right.
So unfortunately, it wasn't how I envisioned, but I also believe that it's never too late. Maybe in the future they can connect as she gets older.
Right. Yeah, and I believe a lot of it is on the other parent. I know a lot of single moms, you know, they kind of push, okay, well, they're not calling. I'm going to call them and tell them to call their kid.
Yeah.
It's like you're not helping that, you know. It's harder if you're in the middle of it, I feel like, trying to push.
Absolutely.
You know, I feel like that other parent, that is them. That is the best they can do. And even if we think their best really sucks, you know, and it's hurtful, that's the best they can do. We're not going to change them by pushing, you know.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's something that we all kind of have to accept in our own way, because we feel like we have this beautiful child or children. We're like, how can anybody not want to spend time? You know,
yes,
you're missing important stuff. You can't get back. You
exactly. That's one of the things that I always thought about. I said, you know, all the milestones from the talking, the walking, and, you know, now being in the teenage years, these are all things that you as a parent, you want to see your child go through and be there for them. So that was one of the things that I was kind of like, oh, you know, like there's so much that you miss out on when you're not there as a parent, when you're being an absent parent. But again, just like you said, we are not, it shouldn't be our responsibility to try and make the other parent be there, you know? That is actually one other thing that for my childhood, I felt like my mom was always the one kind of like, okay, you guys need to go to your dad's house today. But I was like, what if I don't really want to go one day?
Right.
You know, and sometimes we have that.
Right. No, it's true. And you remember that feeling of getting shoved there when you were like, ugh.
Yeah.
So you don't want to push that on your daughter.
Absolutely. And it's always been that type of open relationship with her where I'm like, okay, well, how do you feel? Do you feel like going today or not? And she'd tell me, and then that's how we would decide. Because I do believe that kids have their own voice and they should be allowed to express how they are feeling.
Yeah, I think that's important. And like you said earlier, in the beginning, or even when we were so emotional and we don't, you know, you're kind of fighting against each other, you know, you have to remember it's not about you and me, it's about this child. And I think we forget that in the turmoil.
Yes, definitely.
You know, I know the holidays are really hard for people. I know, you know, school events and big things are hard for people. And it's hard to like come back and remember it's just about the kids. You know, it's just about the kids. And we just have to keep saying that it's about them. It's about them. And I love how you talk to her and say, how do you feel? Do you want to do this? I think that's really good. You know, my daughter's 11 now, and we're getting into the teen years. And I'm like, whoa, she's only 11. How are we going to handle this? You know, and say how you feel. I'm like, that's really good. So what are some of the things that, like, something that, an unexpected skill that you had to learn? Like, what is like, oh, I'm a single mom, I got to do this, or...
I think definitely one of them is learning how to fix things around the house.
For sure.
That's one skill where I was like, okay, I guess I got to figure this one out. But YouTube was very helpful.
Thank God. Thank God for
YouTube,
absolutely.
Right? That is one. And I think also, I know a lot of people say that not necessarily kids need both parents in their life, but I kind of feel like you do need both. I think now she's getting older, having, how do I say this? Like, you know, we need to know how a woman is supposed to be treated. So having that male figure, that was one thing where I was like, how am I going to do that?
But
How am I
no,
going to
you're
do
right.
that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You
Um,
want them to see a healthy relationship so they know
exactly.
what to model. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was like the turning point in my relationship when I decided to leave. I'm like, I'm just settling. I'm not happy. You know, I'm always sick. I'm depressed. What am I doing? I'm showing her this is how it is. And that's like, that was like, I don't want her to think that's okay. You
Right.
know? I mean, now I have a great boyfriend. He opens the door 3 years and he's still opening the door for me, you know, and carrying everything and trying to do everything. You know, he's wonderful, but she gets to see that side, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where before we'd be like, you know, I'm doing my thing and that person's doing their thing. And, you know, what are you modeling? And I think that's important that we notice around us, you know,
Absolutely.
in all relationships, even with like friendships and things like that, you know. And yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's
Yeah.
a really good point. So tell me, like, what your life looks like now.
Well,
How long has it been since
it's
you?
since, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I guess tell me what your life looks like now.
My life now. I don't think it's any different, in a sense of me being the sole parent.
Right.
The difference would be my mindset. You know, when she was younger and, the breakup was still very fresh, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of hate towards this other person, there was a lot of resentment. So learning how to let go of all of that and really put that focus on myself, um, it's helped me a lot. I'm happier. I'm definitely more, how do you say, like, I was always present with her, but I wasn't, if that makes sense, because I was
Right.
still working on myself. So
Yes.
now I'm more present, I'm happier, and I feel like even though me and my daughter have always been very close, we're even closer now because of the fact that I've worked so hard on my mental health, that I'm able to teach her that as well. Even watching her growth and watching her build her confidence, that's been beautiful for me. So definitely my life is a lot better than it used to be, only because I now know how to, my mental health, how to, if I'm feeling down about something, okay, how do I fix it rather than
Right.
continue to feed into that sadness or that anger or that resentment. Um, and yeah, and then now being able to show other women the things that I've learned and how to, build a happy and successful life as a single parent. And when I say successful, I don't mean financially, I mean just having the abundance of love with your children and learning how to love yourself, learning how to, be confident in you. That's probably my biggest, what's it called? Just what makes me really happy.
That's great. That's great. So tell us, what would you tell your younger self?
That things are really going to be okay. I know you hear that a lot, where people are like, oh, everything's going to be okay. And you don't believe it,
Right.
especially when you're going through some stuff. But really, there's so much to look forward to in life. There really is.
There
There's
is.
always a positive.
Right. You just have to change your mindset to see it.
Exactly.
Because our culture is about what's wrong. You
Yep.
know, what's wrong. No one sees what's good. It's like what's wrong. You know, and the judgment and the criticism, and it's constant. It's tough to. It's tough
Yeah.
because that's how our culture is. What gets you through the hard days? You have it all together. Tell us, what are your keys to getting through a hard day?
Oh, definitely my journaling. Journaling has been one of the biggest, um, ways for me to help myself, especially in the hard days. And connecting with nature. I know at the beginning I thought that was crazy. I was like, I don't want to go outside. What is that going to do for me? But,
It's
but
0 degrees out there.
yes, yeah, exactly. But being around nature and just listening to the sounds and just really allowing yourself to take all of that in completely changed my life. And the second or third one actually is, giving myself some time just by myself. Yeah, definitely letting myself just kind of feel and listen to everything that's happening to me.
Yeah, being present. That's so important to be present and give yourself time. We think
Yeah.
it's selfish, but I think it's a necessity to be happy.
Yes, I had to learn that.
Yeah, me too. I'm still learning that. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jenifer. I really appreciate this.
No problem. It was such a fun thing to do with you, and I'm glad that we could connect and teach other single moms some tips and tricks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all learning.
Yes.
We want to thank you for tuning in today. Every Thursday there'll be new episodes, so definitely check back. In the meantime, feel free to follow us on Facebook at My Happy Place and Instagram at My Happy Place for Life. That was with the number 4. Remember, you're smart, you're beautiful, and you got this. See you soon.